All right, no problem.
Okay, we're going live now. We are live. We are live. It's Monday. It's noon EST. And yes, it's time to raise the vibration and share the positive again. Every Monday at noon Eastern, I invite you to join me here on YouTube Live as I share time with you and a vibrational guest comes on board. One element I love about doing live recordings is the first person who shows up on the feed gets to choose where our affirmation is going to come from today, whether it is the I am sacred or the I am vibrational. So if you're here and you've joined us and you get that honor of deciding which card from which deck today is chosen. So meanwhile, while you're typing away, I'll share that my weekly reading, What the World Needs Now, is available to watch after this video. So if you're not already subscribed to my channel, you know what to do. Click on the little button below, and then that way you'll get notification of all my recorded transmissions. Yes, here we are moving forward in the last week of August. Holy Hannah, I don't know if it's just me, but time is flying by. So don't miss a moment. Just be present like you are here today with my guest, iLan, and as he and I raise the vibration and share the positive. So let me light my little candle first of all. Here's my little candle, and I will light it off screen because I've got my wonderful fan cooling down the very hot air that we have in our community at the moment. So here is my candle all lit and ready to go. I don't see anybody who's made the choice today for the affirmation deck. So I'm going to count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, you know what? I'm going to make the choice because nobody has come on and said. So I'm going to shuffle and see what our card from the I Am Sacred deck is today. And if you come on later, sorry, but you're too late. You need to be here right at the beginning. There is our card. Card number 34, I am sacred because I can forgive and live life vibrationally. And I think that's an amazing card for what is going on in our world at the moment. We need to be kind, not judgmental. We just had that conversation before we started. So I think that's the perfect card for today for us all from the I Am Vibrational deck. So today, iLan Azoulai joins me. And let me share, I met iLan via a radio show he hosts, and I was a guest on his show, and it's called Abracadabra. And today we're having a conversation, Reclaim Your Power. But before we begin, let me share a little more about iLan. He's a spiritual mentor, a sound therapist, and for those who are ready to empower themselves by reclaiming their power, he's the energy behind Create What You Speak, which encompasses all the work and guidance through his Kabbalistic work. And I want to know about the high tea, which he creates, which opens the heart, creates body presence, and activates the crown chakra. So welcome, iLan. Let's have that conversation because I'm so excited that you're here today. And you have your sound bowls with you too.
Yes. Hello, Debbie. How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm very good. Feeling
Wonderful.
very hyped.
I'm sorry?
I'm feeling very hyped.
Oh, hyped. I thought you said hi, which is also good.
Hyped.
We're high from the hyping, right?
Vibrationally up there.
So yes, hi. Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure and a blessing to be here and to share this space with you. You've been very kind. Thank you.
Thank you too.
And so what I want to start with is one thing first. Let's do one thing first. If you're listening and you have headphones on, let's put the headphones on.
Okay.
And let's just...
Wow.
And as you hear the sound of the bowl, you can inhale through your nose, out through your nose, keeping the temperature in your body, allowing the frequency to penetrate through all the veils, go directly into your heart. Yeah.
Wow. I'm
Hello.
Woo! For anybody else that's just
Well,
joining us, like that is really wonderful. What tone is that in? Your
so this bowl is targeting the heart chakra. Okay,
hence yes.
the heart chakra, and this is F. So if we look at the musical scale, so let's start a little bit.
Yes.
This is so this particular one is targeting the heart chakra, and the heart chakra is, of course, here, and it's this area, right? This area of the chest, and the frequency is everything that is above 500 is frequency of love. And so we are, as a collective, we are just a little bit under 300, which is, we need to raise the vibration, as your program says.
Yeah.
And so when we're looking at sound, so what I do, I spiritually mentor people, and I work with different tools like sound, frequencies, voice guided meditation. And all these are tools that are eventually coming from a Kabbalistic perspective, a Kabbalistic understanding. And the first thing that I advise everybody, or I work on, because it's not a given right away, is that the perception, the understanding that everything physical, everything in this physical existence comes from an understanding that it has a spiritual meaning and cause. So we're not here just as bodies. We're not a body that inhabits, that has something in it, but we are that in it, that soul, that energy, that frequency that has a body frame, if you will, which is really what it is.
I love it, because it's just like we've got this overcoat this time. This is the coat we're wearing.
Exactly. So think of somebody who is asleep. Somebody who is asleep is not really dead, but he's not really alive, right? And so in Kabbalah, we have different levels. We have 5 levels of our soul. We have the nefesh. We have the nefesh, the ruach, the spirit. The nefesh is the what is called the animalistic soul. An animalistic soul meaning that is goes and lives only by its desires. This is what I want. I want this, I go, I get it. I'm hungry, I eat. I do this, I this. There is no any contemplation. There is not any seeing what is behind it. It's like an animal. You give it a piece of meat, it won't stop to ask, is it poison? Is it good? Who gave it to me? No, right? They charge at it. So that's in the area of our liver. That is our sacral chakra area, the area of our liver, of our kidneys, that area. Then we have the spirit, which is in our heart. Then we have the neshama, the soul, which is in our head. It's the area of the pineal gland, right? Then we have chaya and yechida, which are above our physical existence and yet are in spiritual context. So that's a whole different thing. So when we sleep, the nefesh that keeps the body stays here. The nefesh that keeps the body stays here. So it's like the idling car. The car will idle. It won't drive, but it's idling.
Yeah. It's ready to go.
It's ready to go. Well, yeah, and then it ties also. I work with letters. I work with the Hebrew alphabet. So every letter in the Hebrew alphabet has its own divine channel energy. Its own divine channel of trickling energy. The letter Aleph, the letter Hey. For example, the letter Hey, the 5th letter, is a very fundamental life letter. It's a feminine letter, but it's the letter in the alphabet in which we give, we get, and we let go of life in this form.
Wow.
And you pronounce it hey, like you say hey, right? Yeah. And when we wake up from a dream, we go, right? Yeah. And when we leave, we go, right? So it is. Yeah. It is this kind of a plain word, but also this understanding. Each word has its power. Yeah. So we work with sound, and the way that sound works, we are energy. Everything is energy. We know that everything moves, everything vibrates, and sound is the is the only really, I consider only ultimate medicine when we apply medicine for the body and the soul, because the sound, the frequency heals the soul on the soul level, energetic level, and on cellular level. So, for example,
the
I'm sitting
DNA.
here in my studio. That's right. I'm sitting here in the studio where I do online sound sessions and online coaching, and also when the Coronic time is not here, there are people that come here. But I want to show you something. Okay. So, for example, I have this this bowl which is 285 hertz. And 285 hertz specifically is for treatment of external cuts. So if I have cuts, if I have bruises, because that frequency, it sends message to the brain and to the body cells to recreate, to regenerate this particular tone, this particular frequency. And so we're using combining different frequencies with this frequency and other bowls that I work, and I create. I combine the frequencies. I didn't create them, right? I combine the frequencies to create binaural beats. And do you know what binaural beats are?
Explain to anybody that's listening. I do, but I don't want to exclude anybody that's part of this show today.
Here's an example. When we want to get to a deep meditative state, let's say we want to get to a theta state of our brain. The theta state frequency, state of our brain frequency is between 4 to 9 hertz. Now, we as humanoids, we cannot listen to anything below 20 hertz and nothing above 20 kilohertz. So 20 to 20,000 hertz. So how do I achieve that frequency? How do I achieve hearing that frequency without my auditory systems, right? My ears. And so I would use different bowls to create that frequency. And the brain, our brain, is yet another unique feature, right? So if I would put 205 hertz in one ear and I put 200 in the other ear, the brain will automatically draw the interval of 5 hertz.
Right. Yeah. So it'll pull from it.
Right. So I get to hear and to experience the 5 hertz without using my auditory system. And now I have healing on 3 levels. Actually, on 5 levels.
5 levels. Yes.
5 levels, because I have each tone and the difference between each tone.
Yeah.
And the interval between each tone. 6.
I love that. And of course, for anybody that does meditation or sitting in solitude, when we're at theta, we're just above sleep state. Is that correct? That's how you see it? We're just above sleep state. So that allows us to go off on our journey, and it allows us to connect, but be conscious.
Exactly.
And that's an important, whereas if we go beyond that, we'll be like into sleep state. So I've said that, in the past, I've slept through some meditations because
this is actually very
my
good.
energy needed.
This is actually when people sleep. Here's one myth. When people sleep, they think that they're not getting what they need to get.
Oh, you're getting it.
It's absolutely the opposite. What you're not getting is that you're not staying conscious for the experience.
Yeah.
But the healing goes through because the body just gives in, and when you're asleep, the body just gives in.
Yeah.
Absorbs everything.
My embarrassment is sadly when I'm in that sitting up sleep state meditation is the little snort that goes at the end of it, which announces she's sleeping, which is quite embarrassing because usually that's the point where I sort of come out and I go, oh, I'm so sorry. But it's that, and I always say to people when I'm doing meditation, if they've done that, I said, you know what, I really appreciate that you did that you went off into sleep state because your body just needed that on a cellular level. You didn't need it on a conscious level. So I love the way these things just happen. We don't have to overthink it, and I think sometimes with meditation people go, but I just fall asleep, and I'm like, but that's what your body needed at that time, and that's you were there, you were present, and you let spirit, the sound, the whatever it was, the words just go through and into you, and that's what I love about it.
That's right. You see, but the sound, I use really sound therapy as a tool. And what is that tool for? The tool is really to help in guiding guiding others and reclaiming their power. In
Mm.
reclaiming, what do I mean by reclaiming their power? So I've started. Well, I'll talk about that later. But reclaiming the power is really coming from an empowerment place. Sound is a tool to recalibrate our body. We're doing meditation to recalibrate ourselves. We're doing sound healing to recalibrate and to heal ourselves. We're doing all kind of practices. People are doing all kind of practices to get to a certain place. What is this place? We want to get to this place of uninterrupted joy and understanding, and really being in a happy place. And so when I start working with people or just talking, for me, it's not, oh, I'm working from 9 to 5 and that's it. It's like, it's a way of living. So when I talk to somebody or with somebody, it is very important to understand that there is a spiritual meaning for everything, that we do, right? And that brings us to the point of how do I empower myself, and what do I want to empower myself to be my better version of self, spiritually, that will lead to a physical manifestation. Now, taking into consideration all that we have and all that we are experiencing, if we stay in a place of everything here is in the physical, meaning everything is in my power, it's me, I'm doing this, I'm going through this, it's my power, it's my might, it's my mind, it's my thinking, it's me, the fear and the slippery slope that goes right together with that is very high. And then we find ourselves like an empty can on the beach, right? It goes from here to here, the water, the wave takes it one place to the other. But when we understand that there is a reason for everything, that we have guiding energy, that we have guiding energies, that we are in a harmonious place and not in a place of cacophonia, right? Then we can embrace and we can bring this power in. And we're looking at what is going on, what is happening in the world. What is happening in the world is exactly what is happening with many people inside, where many people that are experiencing the events and internalizing everything and bringing it in, it really shakes their core and foundation. And then people can go into place of denial, places of blaming, and all this is bringing a lot of
things up.
All things up in a new form. So this is really an empowerment journey. And why is an empowerment journey that I do it with others? It is because it is also my journey of coming into a harmonious place. Harmony, yes. I see somebody says harmony.
I love
Absolutely.
It.
We got this ball, this earth, in complete harmony with plants. I work with plants. I work with herbs. We have everything here. We have everything
we need and more.
Everything we have here. But we made it a cacophonia. The earth was the harmony. We really, with our my, I, going into the egoic place, and into the I and me, then that creates the exact opposite.
Right.
This week I was every week that's right. We've met, Debbie and I. We've met on my radio program.
As I'm hearing you, I'm going, we need to have a talk right after this show, because there's something that I've been working on that I know you can help me create.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So Debbie and I met on my radio program. My radio program is called Abracadabra, Create What You Speak. Now, abracadabra, many people think it's like, poof, I have a rabbit out of the hat.
Magician.
Right? In a sense, it is true. It is true, but it comes from Aramaic, abracadabra, and it means evra kedabra. I create as I speak, literally. And what it is, right?
I love that. I love it.
See, what did God say when he first walked into the room? Let it be light.
Let it be light. Yeah.
Right? By the way, you can tell much of a person by the first sentence that they say when they walk into the room. Right? So, let it be light. What did he do actually, or what did God do? And what did God do? He basically and I'm using he as a sense of conversation, not to
Yes.
allude that
Yes.
God is either female or masculine or feminine or any. It's
Yeah.
all together.
Yes.
It is
Encompassing of everything.
it is taking the letters and combining them, just like in chemistry. You have certain letters that create certain effects, and people have been using it wrongfully in different ways as black magic, as different kind of things that are taking words and parts and creating certain things. So that's where abracadabra comes from. I create what I speak. So what do I create? What do I create? How does this work? And this is where the empowerment piece comes, to understand the level of the level on which we operate. And it is that the thought comes to us, the thought, and that the whole thing of how the thought comes to us is a whole different process. But the thought comes to us, and that is the masculine. The thought comes to us. We intentionalize that. We have an intention. What our intention is, that's the feminine. We speak it out. That's the masculine. We hear it back in. That's the feminine.
Yes.
And when I want to create something, literally, I want to create something in my life is a perfect example for that. I say that, I intend it, and it's to be in it. And it is to be in it, to say that, and to be able to hear it back. Now, when we say there is the sentence, everything is about the intention, it is absolutely correct. It is absolutely correct. Try to say thank you when you're angry, right? It doesn't work.
Yes.
All right? It doesn't work. So it's really an empowerment is to look at everything, and to see how everything operates. How are we operating within ourselves? How are we operating within our surrounding environment? What do we take in? What do we allow out? So this week I have this radio program. That's where we met, and every week I have I give also Friday bits and video talks every Friday. And this Friday I was talking about, and it fits right away also to the card that you pulled.
Yes.
You pulled this card of not being negative and being in this place, right? And I work with women and men, primarily women, and it starts moving into men, and that's a very interesting shift. But here's the thing. How do we create what is a free society? What is a free us as a human being? And in this portion of the Torah this past week, we looked at really what Moses was instilling. We put already what are the important three parts that are keeping a sustained free society, and in that free person, right? And we see that we're trying to get to it now very hard, but this has been there. The number one is always to remember where we come from.
Yes.
Always to remember where we come from.
Our roots.
Yeah. And also, I'll give you another example, not just our roots, but for example, if we went through an experience and we were in a very negative position, in a negative place, and somebody helped us, somebody was there for us, there was a certain experience, and then things shift, because as we know, nothing is permanent in life, right? Except for change. That's the only permanent thing.
That's the ever-evolving happening.
So if somebody helped us, and we were in a certain place, is to remember where we come from, is to remember the place that we have been in, when we're moving forward, and not to forget that.
See,
that place.
When I think of roots, I think of a tree.
Yes.
And the roots going down, and the roots touch other trees, and then they intertwine, and then they touch others, and they keep growing and growing and growing. And that's where I think we tend to have become very isolated and very insulated into assuming we are only who we are, based on, us as a person, whereas everybody we interconnect with, whether it's going grocery shopping, whether it's through our spiritual work, our day-to-day work, etc., they are all part of our roots.
Yes.
They all create.
Yes, because they're part of the roots that we're going to remember.
Yes, exactly.
Down the road.
So when I talk about roots, I don't just talk about my background and my family history. I talk about my spiritual history and that essence of where we're all interconnected. When I say to people, we're just like a glass of water that comes out of a beautiful ocean of where we're all connected as a community, one being. So
yes, that's true. Trees, it's funny because also this week portion was being about the tree in the field, because this is the time where this is the month of Elul, and the month of Elul is the last month in the Jewish calendar. And Elul comes from the word to tour. What does a tourist do? He searches, he goes in, he goes out, doesn't know where he comes. And this is the time for us to tour inside,
Yes.
to see all these places that need a little bit of light. We don't need to worry about getting the darkness out. We just need to bring a little bit of light. And the little bit of light comes from the second point that Moses was talking about, is to take care of others.
Yes.
Is to take care of others, especially when they are in this place, of not seeing that maybe somebody is reaching out and they're being completely out. They don't see how they're behaving. They blame others, or they think that other people owe them something to them.
Yes.
So they think that they are entitled.
Yes.
And yet to see within that's what they see. Now, there is so much that one person can take until a person wakes up, but nevertheless, and people that are unable to take care of themselves, people to be to offer certain services, like I do every so often, and probably in the next, this is an encouragement, the next week or two will be a online sound therapy that I do for people to come in and to just to recalibrate. Yeah. And just to experience and just to recalibrate, no charge, just to come and recalibrate, and be in this place of remembering, because we forgot. We forgot many times where we come from, many times where you're talking about the tree. Here's an example. Here's an analogy. The tree, the trunk of the tree.
Yeah, sorry.
The tree goes up, right? And our goal is really to go up as a tree, to be as strong as a tree. And suddenly we find a branch, and we go off on the branch. Mm-hmm. And we like the branch. We really like it. So we're starting to create other branches from that branch and the leaf, and we create a whole town, a whole experience on the branch, but we are on a branch.
Yes.
And we forgot to go back to the tree.
Yeah.
So that's how life many times is. We see something that distracts us, and we go into this place, and we are mesmerized by whatever that is, whether it is spiritual, whether it is physical, whatever that is, and that depends really on where we're coming from. And we build this whole life on a branch of a tree, and that is only a branch, and we forget many times to go back up on the tree. Yeah. So it is, so it is, and the tree, by the way, they don't really go down. The roots, they're spreading.
They spread out, yeah,
and that's
just like us.
Yeah, they spread out, and we're
Professor Mora says, I love that analogy.
Yes,
and I do too, because it's funny. And when Spirit communicated with me what year 2020 was going to be, and it was all to do with balance. It was all to do with community. It was all to do with accepting those sides of us, the male, the female, the dark, the light, the winter, the summer, because it's all interconnected, and we need all to be in balance. So I love that.
Yeah, well, it didn't start for me like that. Like for many of us, it didn't start, because this is really remembering the journey and coming to this. I was born in Israel. My dad was the chief of police in Tel Aviv. So you can imagine, I grew up in a very
stoic,
rigid. And then his son wants to play guitar. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Go be a pilot. You're in Israel. Go be a pilot. Go be this. Go be this. And then I was like, no. My brothers were into karate and all this kind of thing. I said, no, I want to play music. So from a very early age, I've picked up the guitar and then different instruments, and I learned. So really, I was as a musician. As a kid, I would see and I would hear many entities, and I would see entities, and I would talk to different entities that would just come to me and would just show me things, and would just explain why things are happening the way they're happening. So I was more like an introvert, because it wasn't accepted at that time.
Yes.
At that time, I grew up. I grew up in the the early 70s in Israel, and at that time there was no past life regression, or there was, but not in that part.
not in the way of
not in the way that we
growing
know
up
it today.
in the 60s in England. You know, it was like, it was a very close shop then. It wasn't.
Yeah. So there wasn't really, let's take you to a coach, or let's see how you're experiencing. It was just make sure that the door doesn't hit you on the way out when you leave. That kind of thing. So it was a very so all these experiences had to be shunned down, had to be kind of muffled. And about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I started working with a shaman, and that really brought me a full circle back through shamanism and working with herbs and plants, and recognizing what is good for me and what is not good for me, the energies that are good for me, the energies that are not good for me. And sometimes the families that we grow up in, and I'm not talking necessarily about the biological family, because when we experience new experiences, spiritual experiences, we have a spiritual family, right?
Yes.
We're going through a spiritual community, spiritual family. Sometimes to realize that particular spiritual family who bred you and fed you is actually toxic. And to be able to break out on that. So sometimes when we grow up with a family, people will say, oh, you need to maybe change your family, you need to look for something else,
Yeah.
So it's like I felt many times like this ugly duckling that would go always looking for something else. And to realize that everything comes back to how I feel in the world, and in Kabbalah and Judaism, we are attributed to the world. The body is the world. If you look at the relations between each organ distances, it's similar in relations to each planet, to each star system.
I didn't know that.
I did a work for Harvard. For my left brain, I'm also a computer.
An
Apple certified and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I did work with Apple, with Harvard at the time. It was a research group that was working to research and to create simulations between the body and star systems. And it was fascinating to see from a scientific point how the science is really catching up with Judaism and Kabbalah in the last 100 years more than ever.
Right.
How that was talking about is how they came to this conclusion, or to this scientific finding, and then I was flabbergasted, because it was like, wait, this is what Kabbalah says. This is what it's been there. It's been there. So all these looking. So when I was talking on Friday about being the first point, about not forgetting where we come from. Taking care of the poor. A rich society is taking care of the poor. An invincible society takes care of the weak. And the third point is that there is a creator to the world. There is a creator. Nothing is chance.
Nope.
Nothing is really chance. I mean, if the sun was a little closer to Earth, we would be fried. There is. So it's exactly there. And so this is really the work that when I sit with people and talk, and sometimes it's only a conversation, and sometimes it's deep meditation, and sometimes it's really going deep into these doors, to knock on these doors of our soul, to realize how am I looking at something?
Yes.
How am I perceiving something? And challenging our perception at every single moment in time is like going to a gym for our imagination.
It's
imagination.
Exercise, yes.
Yes. And so this is so this is really ties back into this Friday. I didn't come like that. Nobody. Most of us don't come already plug and play.
We forgot it and then had to
exactly.
Relearn it. So
exactly, we forgot it.
Part it is. It's funny because it was around about 2010. You had this sort of shift.
Yes.
And a lot of people around about that time, about 2010, 2012, were going through this, what I call the initial shift, to get them onto the pathway they needed to be.
Yes.
So that today, where you and I and everybody, because it was around about 2010 that I was moving away from corporate world. 2013 was when I produced my first deck and things like that. So a lot of people don't connect with that, and it was a very important, it was one of the first, what I call parts of the wheel for
Yeah.
those of us that had forgotten what we already knew, that had to relearn it again. So I love
Yes. Well, that's right. 2010, and in Kabbalah, it says that at the age of the Aquarius, the information will be available. Now, when did the Aquarius started? Around 2012. Now, that's the third shift. Many people will argue, but 2012 was really a combination of certain planets. That is really when it started, and that started becoming available. I remember I lived in Boston at that time for 14 years. I lived in Boston, and I loved it there. And I remember hearing on NPR, which I would listen to it at that time all the time, that they start talking on mainstream about yoga, about sound healing. And that wasn't on mainstream. You wouldn't hear this on mainstream. Up until then, it was all those channels that are pushed to the side. And I was like, and I had the shivers, and the energy flow through me just like I have it now. And I remember saying to myself, wow, it's starting. It's really starting. Now, I didn't know what was starting at the time.
I don't think any of us did. But
Because
flow, and hopefully you'll learn along the way. I think that's how many of us have gone into it,
Yeah, and
but then it's like this aha or this awakening moment. It's like, now what do I do with it?
Exactly. So coming to these, so at that time, by the way, growing up, it wasn't available. It wasn't those kind of understandings what had to be shut down. So when I started the journey again in 2010 and started working with that shaman, then things just came out of me just like in a one time, like a big, like and then from then it was fascinating because I remembered, and it's a memory. It's like something that you remember that you forgot. And when you remember it, you have the noetic sense that it was always there.
Yeah.
Right.
I love
that
it.
kind of thing. And that was around the same time also I started doing a documentary about.
So tell us about the documentary.
Now that all the shift happens 9 months after I started my documentary. So the documentary really tells the story. It's not done. It's hopefully will be done soon. But that's right. It will be done because this is part of bringing the information, part of bringing the shift, as I call the shiftization, as I bring all that I bring to this plate and to the world, and hopefully this will serve and be of service. This is what I've realized the most important thing and the most yearnable thing for me is to be at the best so I can be of service. And this is really what it is about. And when I say service, it doesn't mean responding to every bullying or to responding to every somebody who thinks they are entitled. It is coming from a place of empowering. So I also respond to you, and who you are watching, you know exactly who I'm talking about, right? So I'll be responding, but I will respond as it needs to be respond because I see how it is for me, and I believe how it is for you. So the documentary really talks about 3 people who, despite their aspiration as children and as kids, their dreams, they all ended up in the red light district of Tel Aviv. They all ended up inhabiting the red light district of Tel Aviv. And the story is really a human connection. Can we rise above what society reduced us to be? But more importantly, can we rise what we reduced ourselves to be? And he talks about a woman who has been kidnapped and trafficked into Israel for sex trafficking. An American who moved to Israel to be sheltered, to create a shelter for homeless women in prostitution, and an Israeli who is an ex-women of trafficker of women who seeks redemption.
So all these 3 different.
So these are all 3 stories that are absolutely true, and are wonderful souls, and I'm in contact with them. And it's really a reflection of, first of all, on the small scale on my journey, but it's also a reflection of everyone. Can we rise above what everybody tells us who we are? We are not who they tell us we are. We are who we are discovering.
Yes.
We are who we discover based on our experience, our understanding, our needs and our desires, and not based on other people's stories. Because when other people tell us what do we do, or put the blame or their story on us, if we don't pay attention, we take this story on us, and then what happens? Then what happens? We operate from the same place. And this is one of the things that I've learned, and that aside from speaking and the gift that I received so many gifts. I'm grateful. You've received so many gifts. Everybody received so many gifts. And when we are in this physical confinement, and the physical confinement is also referring to our own mind confinement. When we're in that mind confinement, we really don't see the entire system. The meaning of the system lies outside of the system. We have to see that. That is really something that I learned from Rabbi Sachs, a wonderful person of spirit, wonderful. And it is so true. It is not to say that the other person is going to tell me who I am, but I have to step outside of my own confinement to really understand who I am, to really see who I am without the attachment. And those are the confinements, the attachment.
Without the emotions as well, because I think when we get caught up in our own physical emotions, we become motionless and we can't move forward. And sometimes we have to step out of that. And you were saying last week sort of where you were, and for me last week I was a lot in silence. I was listening inside of me because there was so much disorientation going on around me, outside of me, and not for me personally, but in our world, that it was like, okay, how am I going to come to terms with my part in all of this? And that's what I just had to go into the silence, listen. I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of reflection and introspection. And I think that's very much what you were describing with your week last week as well.
Yes, and to listen, what you're describing is really a strong point, because I believe that comes, the reason maybe that we're in that place, or we're triggered to be up to that point. So where you realize you had to pull yourself out. How much of it was based on external influence? How much of it was based on what other people think? How much of it was really based on something other than you, other than yourself? We are in a time where, when we're talking about energy shift, it is really shifting, recognizing more of the feminine energy, and appreciating, really understanding that we initially come from that, the feminine energy, the woman, the female, right? That holds, that creates the ground, the breeding ground for whatever that is that we want to breed, right? You're talking about the tree. The tree won't grow if we keep watering it with Coca-Cola, right?
Exactly.
It won't grow.
Or if we keep it in the dark all the time.
Or keep it in the dark, right? You know how there is a poem of Hafiz. Did you hear of Hafiz? He was an apprentice of Rumi.
Okay. Oh, Rumi is my man.
Hafiz.
He's my go-to.
Yeah. So Hafiz was an apprentice of Rumi, and he had a poem called "How Did the Rose?" And I may miss a word or two, but it says, "How did the rose ever open and show its heart to the world? It needed to receive the encouragement of light shine upon it. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened."
Yes.
Right. So it's the light. It's not necessarily the sun, but the light. The light that shines upon us, that shines and within us, is what will bring us to the light, will bring us out. Otherwise, we stay in our own fears. We stay in the realities that we are creating.
Yes.
Right. And so how much of that really was based on outside influences, and right, and really things that are not true, that are not real. I mean, they are real in the sense that you created them real, but they're not real.
We're experiencing them, or we think we're experiencing them.
Exactly.
It's very much so at the moment in our world. And, we talk about shifts, And there are so many happening in what I call like nanosecond occurrences. And, you know, for me, it was like, okay, I want to be productive for myself.
Yeah.
And not get caught up in the affray that was going on around me.
Mm.
And yeah, it was, for me, it was silence, you know, and I loved, I posted on my Facebook page The Sound of Silence by being sung by Disturbed, the singer, because it was so resonant with that sort of very guttural sense in it. And the words from Simon and Garfunkel just seemed to pull it all together for me as a recognition of, yeah, it's okay to be in silence. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not evading or avoiding anything. You're just doing
Absolutely.
what you need. And I think this is where we sometimes get caught up in everything. And, you know, we have to do this or we have to do that, or we feel we do. And I feel that's what you're sharing today, this going in and reclaiming our power.
Reclaiming, yes. And it's power not over somebody, first of all.
No.
It is not a power of over somebody.
Not
it is a power, it is our own power. And one of the things that I work on with people, and one of the gifts that I received is really to be able to look at like a triangle from the top to the bottom about how things are, and to map our experiences, and to map our experiences in a way that we are not attached to anything that we are experiencing. We can experience pain. We can experience the anger. We can experience those. But the problem arises when we are attaching those to things that we are experiencing, meaning, oh, this happens because of this, and therefore I deserve that, or I'm getting this, or that's why I feel that.
Yes.
Okay. And it is taking everything, working in relationships, especially with women that have gone out of relationships, that in a sense many times are losing the North Star, you know, because the difference between a man and a woman in a relationship, with a man everything is external, everything is an extension of, is something an extension of. With a woman everything is internal.
Yeah.
When you're talking about sexual relationships, men are doing sexual relationships with their body. Yeah. Women, for the most part, are with everything.
Yeah.
Right. With everything. And so it is taking those understandings to map the experiences without the attachment, without the emotional attachment to anything. Mm-hmm. And it is a practice to start doing that. And it is a process, because we cannot eradicate a 30, 20, 40 years of patterns
not in a
seconds,
moment.
Right?
It's funny because when you look at the anatomy of a female body, it's all inside. And when you look at the anatomy of a male body, it's on the outside. So when we put those together with the whole aspect of who we are, in the female and the male, and I do believe that we have the male and the female within us that we bring into balance, and that's part of everything is within us, the good, the bad, it's there. It's what we bring it into balance, and that this is this whole year, this 2020, and when we see what's going on externally in our world, in our country, in our community, in our family of wherever our roots are. This is so much exactly what you're saying. I love it.
Yeah, this is we are really in these times, and if there is anything that will come out of here, sound, frequency, Tibetan bowls, voice, these are tools.
Yes.
These are tools, not the actual right?
Yeah.
These are tools. These are tools to bring us into this harmonious place, and working using sound, using the tea. I make I'll talk really quick about the tea. It's called high tea. It's called high tea. And it's for a higher state of consciousness. These are from plants and herbs that I bring together and I put together, and the formula is something that I put together, just discovering. And it's a heart opener. It's a body presence. different chakras activation. So it keeps you present, keeps you still with an expansive heart. And I want to say an example. I want to give an example about creating the tea. And how it started going. And there are many examples that with what I'm doing, with how things have been manifested, and where I am in my life. But I'll give you one example about that. I started with the tea when I was still in Boston, and what appeared to me at that time, my life was not very, was in a point where I was still in a very deep learning, very deep experiencing, the very deep learning. That was during the time of the journey, about like 7 years ago. I was still in the understanding what things were going on. And I realized what happened because I put a few things together and I realized, wow, this is great. Let me maybe I can make something with it. And then my left side told me, nah, come on.
You can't do it.
No, come on, who's gonna buy it? You don't have anything. And my right side said, come on, do it. Well, do it. Give the universe a chance to help you. No, yes. I did the first bag. I put the seal on it. As I put the seal on it, I kid you not, within a minute, I received a text from a woman in California who I did a ceremony for, asking for 20 bags.
What?
Within the minute. I had
this spirit saying you're on the right track.
I'm telling you, this works. Abracadabra. It's creating what we speak. Now, this is going also to a different conversation of whether we have a free will or not, and whether we have free choice. Do we have free will or free choice? There are two different things in a way.
I think you're going to have to come back on and we continue this conversation because
this is a whole different thing.
So excited at the moment, iLan. I really am. As you've been speaking, I've been absorbing so much.
Thank God.
Amazingness. And I'm sure everybody that either is watching this live or going to come back and watch it after we've recorded it, because there is so much what I call information. And we've just cracked the surface. We just touched it. We really have. So this is going to be another conversation.
Sure.
I can really feel that at the moment. So as we get sort of the rounding this up,
yes,
I want you to share more about how people can find you.
Wonderful.
What you have available to them.
Wonderful.
Because I know you have so much to offer.
Well, so my website is bodysoulsound.com.
And it is below this video as well. So if anybody's not written it down, don't panic about it. It's going to be in the feed there so that you can find it as well.
So bodysoulsound.com. If you go on Facebook, you look for Body Soul Sound. It'll be there. And or through the website. And my Facebook thing is iLan Azoulai. So my first and last on Facebook. There is also another page of music, the music that I do, but you will see the main profile is the one that I'm holding the singing bowl on it. And on my wall also there is where I put my podcast radio programs on it. And so when we come together, when you call me and you say you just want to talk, we'll start first with a conversation. We'll start first with a conversation, seeing how you are, who are you, who we are. And just I feel the energy like that. I see certain things, I feel certain things. And then we decide what we do. Sound sessions over a video platform, audio platform with headphones. I do healing remotely, social distance in a way when it is required, and do soul coaching. And so I will work with you really to identify that which you need to detach from, and how you can continue and move to reclaim really what is yours.
You mentioned during the recording today that you're going to work on something where we can all just join in.
Yes.
So we can find that on your website when it's ready.
You can find it on my website on the Facebook, and I will put it, and I will send I will try to remember to send you a link so you can post it.
Send me a link, and then I can share it with all my people as well. So, oh my gosh! So
that would be that.
Definitely going to have you back on again.
Wonderful.
I love the free will element, because that is such a large conversation.
It's a large conversation.
It's beautiful. So thank you. So
thank you.
Next Monday, August the 31st, noon, my guest live on Raise the Vibration and Share the Positive will be Chris Lee, hypnotherapist and past life regressions, and my other half.
I know that guy.
I know that guy. Yes, he's been on iLan's show as
He's been
well.
on my program too.
Yeah. And we'll be having a conversation, how to ruin a life, fear, guilt, and jealousy. So Chris is the author of 4 books in a series called Life in the Past Lane. So I hope you can join us. Also on August the 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern, live right here on this platform, Ida Keatley, Kim Butler, and myself will be doing short free readings for an hour or maybe 2. So just turn up early and I will post beforehand. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel, the button below. And then that way you'll get the notification of how to do this and how to join in and how to get a free reading. My guest on September the 7th is Pilar Shumalas, who is joining me again for a conversation on high vibrational healing, merging science and spirituality. So that will be very important. And it's like I love having all these high vibe people on.
Everything is coming together. Yeah.
This is what I always say, that things happen for a reason.
Of course.
And I only started doing these sort of like Monday things when I came back, and I was in quarantine coming back from Azoulai. And I thought, let's just keep this going and invite beautiful souls on who have a journey to share and things that can help us all get to that nirvana, that vibration that we need to be. So I've moved most, if not all, of my work now to YouTube. Yes, you can find me on Facebook as well, but every day I post something very positive on YouTube. So it's either my pick a card, the affirmation, my sharing, my weekly reading. So again, subscribe.
I moved the channel. I moved my channel also to YouTube, so you'll find me there too. Yeah.
Yes, and I'll put that. You'll just remind me, and I'll put that. Meanwhile, thank you, Alan, for what you've shared today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who joined. Amora, Amber, and
Amora, Amber, and I'm sure there are a few others that are watching that just haven't clicked on or made a comment there. So thank you.
Just reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
Join me next week on Monday at noon. Eastern on my Vibrational Energy YouTube channel, when we will again share the positive by raising the vibration. So bye everyone, and have a vibrational week, embracing your true vibrational essence.
Amen. Thank you.